Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you all to this edition of The Insight. I am Babler Jonathan. Today we are looking at the human rights situation of Cameroon. Human rights violations has become almost a daily happening in the Republic of Cameroon, and one of the most recent cases of human rights violation is that of Barrister Tamfu, a Richard human rights advocate and peace crusader, arrested and tortured by gendarme officers here in the country's economic capital, Douala, while he was trying to defend his client who was being arbitrarily arrested by gendarme officers without an arrest warrant, and he was subjected to a brutal treatment by the gendarme officers. Widespread condemnation have been rising to the sky from all quarters: civil society, right defenders, political leaders, and just every Cameroonian raising concerns about the situation, especially the fact that it concerns a lawyer who is charged with the responsibility to defend the rights of every citizen, every person on the territory of the Republic of Cameroon. And there have also been growing numbers of cases of gender-based violence in the country and even beyond. We are looking at these, and we'll also be looking at the problem of bad roads, dilapidated roads running across cities, towns, villages, from the urban centers to the hinterlands. The roads in the Republic of Cameroon are in a very bad state, and hence violating the rights of movement, which is a fundamental right. Thank you for staying with us. Our first guest is SONKEY Mirabelle. She's an advocate for social justice, founder of Network of Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment. It is a civil society organization. She's joining us from Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. Thank you for having me one more.
Right, you must have watched videos, pictures going viral on social media about a lawyer, in which we see a lawyer, an advocate of human rights, a peace crusader, Barrister Tamfu Richard, being molested by gendarme officers here in Douala. What's your reaction to this?
It's so appalling what we all watch on TV. It's so appalling what we all watch on social media these past days, with Senior Barrister Tamfu being assaulted by forces of law and order. When you see something like that, rule of law is in our country. What will the layman who does not even know the law think about the law, the senior emotions? But we join the legal community to ask for justice to prevail, so that the perpetrators of this barbaric act, because for me it's so barbaric, it has nothing to do with how justice should be upheld. So we are all asking, as the founder of Network for Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment, we are all joining our voices with that of the global community to ask for severity towards these gendarmes who perpetrated that act.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Of course, not an isolated case. It is just one of the cases of human rights violations recorded in recent times in Cameroon. What's your reading of this growing phenomenon of violation of human rights, even by those who are charged with the responsibility to enforce the respect of those rights?
We've seen the Minister of Defense and the Secretary of State for Defense asking for investigation We have seen the authorities asking for investigation. I hear people say, oh, the facts are clear. But we need to understand one thing, that the facts need to be documented and sent to the court. Because you cannot just take videos and send to court like that. That's true. The evidence is there. But now, when the Secretary of State for Defense is asking for an investigation, is for the rule of law and due diligence to be carried out. You know, they need to carry a proper investigation, you know, take down all the documents, you know, like they have to interview the victim as well as the perpetrators, so that they know. And owing to the fact that these people are forces of law and order, they should know better. That is why there is prescription for severe punishment for people who know the law and they abuse. However, in the law, they say ignorance of the law is not an excuse. And coming from people of the security forces, it's appalling. Thank you.
All right. Your organization does a lot of work in the area of educating the population about these rights. But it seems the rights are not well understood by just everybody. The rights are not well understood by those who are charged with the responsibility to enforce the respect of the rights and those who are entitled to those rights. What do you think about this?
I think you have some overzealous people in uniform who think that ever the prompt action of the Secretary of State for Defense, under which these gendarmes are, who has asked for an investigation and for proper actions to be taken. You know, it's for those of us who are advocates, when we see a senior barrister being treated like that, it sometimes discourages us. But however, we will not be discouraged. We will look up to him as a model of human rights, because he was standing in for his client and he took the bullet where he was not supposed to. This is, what do you say? This is something that needs to be taken seriously. And I want to encourage all the other advocates like myself, junior advocates like myself, you know, not to be discouraged. When we talk of human rights, everybody has their rights, and the rights of every individual has to be upheld. That's why we are standing firm behind Barrister Tanfu.
All right, let's proceed to talk about women. Let's talk about women.
From June 2023 to date, Cameroon has recorded a heartbreaking increase in cases of violence against women or girls.
We remember that in 2023, we end the year with 68 cases of women who have been killed, either by their partners or either by even strangers. We also have one of the cases that really touching the population right now is the case of the young girls of 5 years of age who have been raped and assassinated where he was living.
The case of Diane Yangwo, a teacher at government bilingual high school, Dokpasi, brutally killed by her husband a year ago. A gender-based activist, Caroline Van, says domestic violence or cases of femicide have increased. What then accounts for the surge?
As we know, we are living in a patriarchal society in Cameroon where everything turns around the need of men. We also have as well the fact that when we come, for example, to marriage, we have women and girls have been raised by their parents by thinking that even if your man is violent, even if your man is unfaithful, you have to remain in that marriage even if you are not happy.
Despite ongoing instances of violence and need for legal protection, the legal system appears to be inactive. A legal mind, Barrister Remain Amugwe explains what the law says.
For the court to prosecute a perpetrator, someone needs to speak up. Someone needs to give a witness testimony on oath. Victims are the main witnesses to their cases, but then how many of them are ready to come up to court and talk about it? The draftsman has made it possible, and there are sections of the law that are there to protect citizens.
Each year, a 16 days activism campaign is launched across the country, an opportunity for gender-based activists and other human rights defenders through activities to fight against the ill. Worldwide, the 25th of November is observed as the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women.
There are all indications that gender-based violence is on the rise in the Cameroonian society today. Femicide has become a thing that we hear every now and then. A woman is killed either by a husband, a brother, by another woman, and so on. What information do you have at your level of the network for solidarity, hope, and empowerment with regards to this problem of gender-based violence?
Generally, we are currently on the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. This year, we are celebrating the 25th anniversary since the UN declared 25th November as the day that we have to orange the world. In Cameroon, every day we hear about violence against women and girls. Cameroon has ratified all the conventions, but still we have a problem of implementation because the laws are not implemented. That's why you see domestic abuse in the rise, and as we say, every 11 minutes, a woman is abused. So together we have to stand up. I say usually it starts from the house. When in the house we start discriminating, discrimination already is the base of any violence. When you discriminate against your girl child, then you are violating this child's right. So we have to stand up as parents, as siblings, and as children to say no to any form of gender violence. So it is not easy, but we are tackling the matter every day. We are tackling it every day. Domestic abuse among intimate partners, husbands and wives, So this is something that we really don't know how we can work it out, but we have to start by, I want to say we should be promoting positive masculinity. The men should understand that we are their siblings, we are their wives, we are their mothers, So we should be raising children who don't need to heal because of future abuse that they endured because they are women or they were young. Thank you, Mr. Babila.
All right, let's take some few minutes to go to the newsstands, and we're looking at what the newspapers reported this week. We'll be right back in a moment. Press review. The Post reports increasing violence against women. It says the European Union delegation head has said a woman is killed every 10 minutes. The Guardian Post exclaims, calamity befalls Northwest House of Chiefs President. Dark cloud hovers over planned Heritage Festival. Governor falls initiator von Yakum Kevin sets tough conditions for its holding. Von Yakum also under fire for summoning Senator Enue Francis and the mayor of Bafut over traditional regalia. Cameroon Tribune highlights efforts to free kidnapped division officer of Idabato, Roland Iwane, and council staff Etongo Ismail. The Horizon, Cameroon's startup ecosystem needs urgent reform. This is what comes out of a study carried out by the Nkafu Institute. Cameroon Tribune reports that dialogue is the way to improvement of the electoral process in Cameroon, highlighting the 2 editions of the consultation platform bringing together officials of the elections organizing body Elections Cameroon and other election stakeholders. You're welcome back. SONKEY Mirabelle, the Post reports a statement by the EU delegation head who says that every 10 minutes a woman is killed around the world. That is quite disturbing.
This is a situation that, as I said earlier in my expose, it starts from how you were raised, because women tolerate a lot because they were raised in houses or in homes where abuse was present, so they know only abuse. As parents, we should teach our children not to be abusive and not to endure abuse. So, as they rightly say, every 10 minutes a woman suffers from abuse. How do we stop it? We should not only look up to the government. While we look up to the government to put in place laws that prevent people from abusing others, we also have to get that culture not to, like we have to promote the culture of no abuse. So this is what we can only talk about, how to get that culture of no abuse in our community.
Some activists attribute the prevailing situation to impunity. They think that culprits, those found guilty of gender-based violence, femicide, are not punished according to the law. And that is why it continues. What's your take on this?
I didn't get your question, please.
I said some activists like you attribute the prevailing situation to impunity. They think that culprits, those found guilty of gender-based violence, of femicide, are not adequately punished, and that is why it continues. What's your take on this?
I always tell people that the only way to stop abuse is not for it to start. You address it immediately it starts. You cannot address something. You cannot address something that has become like a cankerworm. I always advise some of my male friends who I find them abusive to go and learn how to use their muscles on a sun punching bag, not on their partners. Love does not hurt. Love does not hurt. So any woman who's in an abusive relationship, I want to say that she is the only person who can get out of it. If she doesn't have a voice, we cannot lend her our voices. So she has to use her voice and cry out for help so we can lend her our voices and do due diligence.
Many of them who manage to speak out when they face gender-based violence in their matrimonial homes, many of them who manage to speak out end up disappointed with the authorities, end up feeling that they were not, their situation was not properly handled. The culprits, or those found guilty of gender-based violence, were not adequately punished. And many would just tell you that of what use is it to speak out because of the situation of or what some have qualified as the reign of impunity.
I am of the opinion that until domestic violence is made a national emergency, where you have a special unit that investigates such cases, we will continue to find our, call it femicide. We've had some cases where the perpetrators were severely punished. We have cases where some of the perpetrators were severely punished. But as I said, you as the victim, if you do not speak out, who's going to give you a voice? it's only your voice that can be heard, and people will give you a loudspeaker, so this issue can be dealt with accordingly. Thank you.
What about this issue of protection of the family image? Because this is what often comes up each time a woman is subjected to violence in a matrimonial home. It is we often hear this. No, we have to protect the image of the family. We have to protect the image of whoever. What's your opinion about this issue of protecting the image of the family, of whoever, and ending up in the grave in some situations?
I just want to say that until domestic violence is made a national emergency, where the procureur can seize the court to take charge of any case. But now in a case like this, when they say they're protecting the image of the family, these are some cultures, because we only know a culture of abuse and we normalize it. That's why a lot of women die in abuse. And the family trying to protect this image, they stay there and they're grumbling. Somebody has died, but you still are there protecting the murderer, because we call the person a murderer. You killed somebody, whether you like it or not. Love does not hurt. You can't love somebody and you delete the person, as they say. You cannot kill somebody you love. Love, yeah, people talk of jealousy, but I will say it. Jealousy is the least of emotions, the most, the most degrading emotion, because it can push you to do things and you start regretting. You will abuse your partner and you still want this partner to be submissive to you. How do you expect a woman who has been abused to be submissive? How do you want a woman who has been bruised to be submissive? We hear people talking, oh, this woman is not submissive. You can only get a queen when you create a kingdom for that queen. That's it. If you don't have a kingdom, and then you cannot have a queen in your kingdom. So we have to be very, very careful. We should learn about positive masculinity. Communication is the key. People should learn to ask questions rather than questioning their partners. It's not an easy thing, but this is something that is we always go around, we tell people you have to learn to be emotional intelligent. You will see very intelligent people with very high IQs who have very low EQs. So most often at times it's about insecurities. It's about insecurities in couples that you see this abuse sets in. It's not really about, you trying to correct. How do you want to correct an adult who was raised by some other person than the family you came from? I will say it. If it were your daughter, will you allow her to start, or you raise your hand or a voice? Imagine that it were your sister, your mother, your aunt, or your daughter.
What will you tell a man who thinks that exercising his muscles on his wife is the best way to exercise authority, to demonstrate authority, to show that he is the man of the house?
I would tell such a man to go and meet Francis Ngannou to teach him how to use his muscles to make money and bring more money at home. That's the only thing you can do. Use your muscles on your fellow man, make money. As Francis Ngannou, he earns a living boxing. So why will you destroy your fellow human being? Just go meet Francis Ngannou. He will train you to become a good boxer.
All right, let's talk about the consequences of all these on the family structure, on children who are most often than not caught up in a fight of elephants, and they become the grass that suffer because elephants are fighting.
You might think that you are fighting in the like in the behind doors. Your children, they know everything that is happening. They see you, the woman with a bruised face, they know you were bruised, or the man with a bruise, or a broken hip or something like that. They know what is happening. However, the consequences is that the children will only perpetrate what they know, like the boys will perpetrate abuse while the girls will endure abuse. Imagine, we've seen a lot of women lost their life as a result of abuse. What became of their, because the families are fighting. You cannot keep the children because you're an abusive man or you're an abusive woman. So it is something, it affects the future of your kids, whether you like it or not. The kids will look at you and tomorrow they're going to be perpetrators of abuse, or they will endure abuse. Those are some of the consequences.
Now, on the society at large, is there a direct link between gender-based violence and the general violence that we see in the Cameroonian society today? A lot of violence here and there.
Yeah. On the society, for example, if the woman or the man is a worker, he or she will have to take time off. You see how, because you have to take sick leave because you cannot go to work. It's going to affect the economy. It's going to affect so many things, the socio-economic activities of our communities. So my take, this is a personal opinion and room to make abuse a national, domestic abuse, a national emergency, where any person, because in some cases, like in some cases, if you don't have a victim, the case cannot go anywhere. But if they make it a national emergency, then the state council has authority to, when he hears about something, to take action and do due diligence so such abuse can stop.
Sometimes we hear some justifications, like what you mentioned earlier. We hear justifications like she's not submissive. She does not respect her husband. She does not respect her boss, her employer, and all sorts of excuses, explanations, or justifications to gender-based violence. What do you think about this?
I will still say nothing justifies violence. When you communicate with your spouse, your partner, or you communicate even at the workplace, because when we're talking of violence, it's not only about spouses or whatsoever. Even in the workplace, we see some of these harassment cases, which is because you are a woman, they think that you cannot, you cannot deliver. There is a way. I always talk about positive leadership. A leader is not the position. A leader is that person who takes you up, who teaches you how to do things. Even as your partner, why don't you tell your partner, babes, I don't like how this thing is happening. Don't you think we can do it like this for us to be okay? Nothing justifies violence, truth be told. Nothing justifies violence. Even if it's not working, your relationship is not working. That's why the law has made it possible for separation. To divorce in Cameroon, it takes a while, but however, you still have that possibility for separation. You can separate for some time to see how you can work out your relationship. You cannot only be abusive. Imagine you trying to hit somebody. We never know. People are so fragile. You can hit somebody and the person doesn't wake up. What will you say? That will live in your conscience forever.
Right. So at your level, the network of solidarity, hope, and empowerment, what are you doing about this situation? What are you doing to help provide solutions to gender-based violence,
what we've been doing, we do a lot
violence?
We do a lot of awareness. We do a lot of awareness. A lot of awareness. We do a lot of awareness, because we will say a lot of people don't know what a healthy relationship looks like, or what a healthy relationship is all about. We will not cease to continue raising awareness, telling couples. We have sessions among abusive couples. We talk to them. We have a lot of psychotherapists within Cameroon who hold space. I call it, we hold space for them. And also there's another problem in Cameroon, because as we say, you said earlier on that when you have we want to maintain the family. We do not have shelters for abuse, for victims of abuse. Cameroon has not got safe spaces. And this is what is making it again really, really serious. If we had safe spaces where a woman could go there and, the woman works on herself, because sometimes it's working on yourself. Your self-esteem has been destroyed in such a way that the Network for Solidarity has a lot of partners in Cameroon. We work together with so many organizations. However, it's not, as we say, it's not only a Cameroonian thing. Domestic abuse or gender-based violence is a global pandemic. Even in the US, even in America, France, Germany, we still have victims. Despite everything, all the resources at their disposal, we still have domestic violence. And, however, we're doing our little best, as I say, every little step to the milestone we fixed to get there. So it's, as I say, we work in collaboration with so many partners. We work in collaboration with the judiciary as well. So from thank you.
All right. Before that, you were talking about the absence of a safe space for victims or survivors.
Yeah, this is a big problem. This is a big problem we have in Cameroon. There are no safe spaces. So most often at times what we do, we do some placement in some orphanage. Expensive. It's so expensive taking them out. You cannot take somebody out. They have to want to live, but most often it becomes so challenging. So until we have safe spaces, we will still be facing a lot of challenges dealing with domestic abuse.
Thank you very much, SONKEY Mirabelle, advocate for social justice, founder of Network of Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. It's always a pleasure to be on your program. Thank you so much.
For decades, the natives of Bakundu, Koba, and other localities in the Konye subdivision are facing challenges impacting their daily activities.
Now, so we resolve our papa too, they resolve so we too. We don't meet up. So we go down, so we not go see road. Suffer where you suffer for this side. You not too much.
Since the occurrence of a landslide which destroyed the only road linking Bua, Bakundu and other villages, the people have resorted to using a footpath.
Our means of transportation are the pass through for here. And even at 3 bunch to get at the car and only for 8. Before we reach Okoba market, we're not going to go for this side.
During the rainy or dry season, the inhabitants trek for about 3 hours. Worst is the fact that corpses are being transported by the natives on foot.
Well, as we, the young youth, them, we take about 2 hours for reach Okoba bed. Mommy, then they take about 3 hours for reach Okoba. You know the way they work and with their.
Also, children in Bua Bakundu face significant challenges accessing schools. As a result, many have migrated to other localities where they can find better opportunities.
My picking government, my picking them. When they're there from outside, we not try for bring road for this side. We suffer.
Without a solution, the residents continue to face difficulties.
It is almost a recurring issue in the police and gendarme corps that we hardly go by a week or two without noticing repeated acts of violence on civilians. We are not only particularly touched because Tamfu is a lawyer, but it is so touching because it's becoming like a recurrent phenomenon. To respect human rights is like the exception, and to abuse is like the rule. And the bar said, we cannot continue. Where any civilian transgresses a provision of the law, the due process of the law is supposed to be followed. Nobody is above the law, and nobody has the law in his hands to use at his whims and caprices. We are going to write to the Secretary of State of Gendarmerie, and we expect urgent, severe sanctions against the perpetrators of such barbaric acts. If they don't, the Bar Council will reconvene and we will take the appropriate measures. Every citizen has a right to the protection of the forces of law and order. They are fundamental human rights which are inalienable. They should not and must never be violated. We are a state of law. If somebody transgresses the law, it is only the due process of the law that culminates in a court decision that can authorize whatever sanction against somebody. What the forces of law and order are doing, they are gradually instituting anarchy in our society. And the bar says no to that. And we are watching, and the case of Tamfu is not the first, will not be the last. I want to say it that at any moment that it will repeat itself, the bar will rise up again. This is often done with the intention to intimidate the psychology of the clients, to make them feel like the lawyers don't have a role to play, and to intimidate the very young ones who have just come in. I seize this opportunity to call on each and every lawyer to be more determined to defend their clients in every circumstance, that they should not be afraid, and that wherever their rights as professionals are violated, the Bar Council as one man will descend to the defense. To the young colleagues who have just come in, we encourage them to go on without fear, but be respectful of the institutions of the state, and that the Bar Council is watching their back.
Showed a summons, a convocation, instead of a warrant of arrest. He told the forces that you cannot arrest somebody by a mere show of a convocation. That was when they brutalized him, treated my learned friend like a common criminal. And we wish to state that we condemn the continuous harassment and brutality on lawyers who are carrying on their jobs simply because they are lawyers. We condemn it, and we also want to state that Cameroon had signed the International Convention against torture and all that inhuman treatment in 1987. Cameroon is a signatory to that. And if you look at Article 2 of that Convention against torture, it says that the state must put in mechanisms to make sure that citizens are not being tortured by elements, by people in authority. We condemn this action in the strongest term, and we call on the authorities to go on to carry on an independent investigation. The president of the Cameroon Bar, Bartolome Bar and Bar, has just come up with a communique condemning the action, and he has called on the bar representative in Douala to mobilize lawyers to see that justice is served on our colleague. And this is not the first time. Last month, the Minister of Defense said they were going to open an independent inquiry on the brutality that was meted on Cameroon legend musician Longue. Up to this point, we don't know what is happening with the investigation. We don't think that the one of Tamfu is going to be a walk away. It is not going to be business as usual. Lawyers are going to stand up. Today it has happened to Tamfu. Tomorrow it will be Barrister Ewule, and we are calling that this has to stop. We cannot be in a country where lawyers cannot perform their duties. Lawyers are the voice of the voiceless. Lawyers are the voice of the last man. We are the voice of the voiceless. And if our voices are being couched down by people who think that they are holding a gun, I think that it is a violation of human rights, and it's a violation of the rights of the people. And we think that this action of the police officers, it is shameful, it is a disgrace, and it is alien to our societal values. We pray for our colleague to recover fast. He is presently at the Lacantini Hospital. We pray that may God give him a quick recovery, and we pray that the entire bar should stand as one man.
Every young person in Cameroon needs to rise up. A threat to a single liberty in this country is a threat to the liberty of all Cameroonians. I mean it. Cameroon is just coming out from the bench of United Nations Human Rights Commission against torture, and the delegation of Cameroon refused that they are not torturing citizens in this country, but they are torturing even professionals. Barrister Tamfu Richard is a lawyer in a Cameroon bar and also in a Nigerian bar. Can you imagine what it means for a gendarme to lay his hands, brutalizing physically a human rights lawyer in that manner? The youth need to rise up to say no, no, no. This is unacceptable, and justice for Barrister Tamfu, and we cannot take it anymore, because we cannot keep being in a country that lawlessness is the order of the day. The general call is simple. We are advocating for justice, complete reform of the justice system, but for this particular case of Barrister Tamfu, we want justice done and served, and not just at the level of communique, because we know usually when this kind of incident happen, the colonels or the defense secretaries in charge will come out with a communique like what has been done already, and then they will say, well, we will do an investigation and those who are involved shall be held responsible. These kind of communiques have been done on several other cases in Cameroon, and no result have been made clear to Cameroonians. There is a lot of opaqueness in the way that the justice system in this country operates, and that has to stop. We are intolerant to injustice, and our tranquility is disturbed by the situation at hand. We are at the elastic limit of patience. Let the government hear this and take it seriously.
Thank you. This is a senseless form of deviance. What they are doing by burning taxes, kidnapping people, is senseless. By burning taxes and kidnapping people, is wanton. By burning taxes and kidnapping people is not the way forward. By burning people and preventing children from going to school is irrational. It's without any logic. Let 2024 be the end of this violence, and that let us hope that as our end of year commitment, let us commit ourselves to end this nonsense, to end this deviance, to end this violence, and let the Northers and Southers come back to normal as they have always been. Our two regions have been regions of people where young people are reasonable, young people are respectful, young people are hardworking, young people look forward to a better future. That is the Northwest and Southwest that I know.
Time for me improve community development members of SAC village of the Sakuda Vice President in Kambi Central. Yes, my worry is about the SAC market. The SAC market, people do things there, they sell goods, sell many things without revenues to the council. Number one. Number two, that SAC market does not have public toilets. People come from different villages, the Fulani and all over, they don't have where to deposit their waste. Number 3 point, there's a lot of things that the mayor have done in this town: equipment, support, solar system. I want the mayor also to think about my village, just to put a small light solar in that market, which will also indicate that SAC village is part and parcel of this council, in the municipal council of this our Lord Mayor. I raise my case.
The ESCO, councillors, council staff should carry out a lot of sensitization, education, collaboration, motivation with the payers and the collectors of council revenue. We recommend therefore, since a new way of budgeting has been introduced, a seminar for the councillor is eminent. We observe the price tag of basic commodities in our markets today, and therefore call on the council, ESCO, to ameliorate the working conditions of the council staff, to enable them meet up with the present dispensation. We recommend also that, considering the difficulty faced by the parents, guidance in the drawing up of declaratory judgment in the court due to lack of some machines, the council should help support the court of first instance with the following machines: 1, a good generator; 2, a good printer; and 3, a good computer. This will go a long way to help guidance parents.
75% of those who have stroke nowadays have stroke because of hypertension. 50% of those who have heart failure will develop this heart failure because of hypertension. A risk factor like obesity is rampant in our environment. 25% of adults in our environment are obese. These diseases are affecting our population, but it is not inevitable. The fact that there is some uncontrolled urbanization happening, and that our population is more and more prone to physical inactivity. People are not active enough, that people are not eating healthy. Our diet is more and more rich in fat, rich in salt, and less fruit and vegetable, that we are not active enough. All those factors contribute to the development of cardiovascular diseases, I have to add here one of the factors of the modern life, which is stress. The problem of demography, the problem of health personnel demography is really global. So this is something important in terms of number of cardiologists, but also in terms of quality of cardiologists. Of course, it is not yet enough, but there are a number of efforts which are put in place to change the situation.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us.